Hey everybody, welcome to another World of Warships replay, and this time we are in the Izumo. This is the new Japanese Tier 9 battleship. It's one of the proposed designs that led to the Yamato. Obviously it is of the all turrets forward configuration, kind of similar to the Nelson class, but not quite. If you see the direction the turrets are facing, the aft turret is actually facing the back of the ship, which means that you have to rotate it all the way around if you want to try and swing your guns from side to side across your front. In real life, obviously, this doesn't matter so much, but in World of Warships, it's kind of a big deal being able to quickly traverse your guns from one side of the bow to the other. So this turret layout more closely reflects the Myogi and some of the other Japanese cruisers. Now, the idea of this all-guns forward design was to cut down the length of armoured belt needed, and you can actually see the difference in the armour plating that runs from the second turret to just behind the superstructure. Now, by shortening this length of belt you need, you also lessen the amount of armour, which lightens the ship. Usually, it would allow you to shorten the ship somewhat as well, but in this case, the Izumo, which is actually a name that Wargaming assigned it, it was the A140J2 design. It's nearly as long as the Yamato. Actually, I think it might even be as long as it. And the reason for that is the rather large aircraft handling area on the stern. There's a below-decks hangar, much like on the Yamato, and then you've got the two catapults at the stern. Compared to the Nelson, this ship is quite a bit more stretched out. The superstructure is more towards the centre. Nelson had it at the rear, hence its nickname Nelsol, and Rodney's nickname Rodnol, because they looked like oil tankers from a distance. This looks kind of more like what the British were going for with the, I want to say, N3 design, which never materialised and was purely a paper design. Much like this ship was never built, so the Izumo name was actually taken from I think it was a protected cruiser that the Japanese had sitting in one of their naval harbours, I can't remember which, by the end of the war. And it was being used as a training ship. Wargaming have a policy of using actual names for paper design ships, so much like the Myogi, which was another paper design, they assigned the A140J2 a name. Now, these triple turrets on the front are not 18-inch guns like the Yamato, they're 16-inch guns, but they are quite decent. And because all three turrets are right next to each other, it gives you very good grouping on the primary guns. The ship's passably speedy and manoeuvrable. It's not Warspite levels of manoeuvrable, but it's pretty good. The AA is passable, I guess. It's a Japanese battleship, it doesn't have the best AA. And as you can see, it's mostly arrayed along the edges of the deck, which is interesting compared to the Yamato's scheme of putting all the AA clustered around the superstructure. Speaking of the superstructure, the A140J2 is kind of odd. While most of the Japanese ships have very distinctive pagoda masts, this thing looks like some kind of fucked up sex toy, which is interesting. I'm sure there'll be some fun retextures for this once the game comes out. Otherwise the design's nothing too out there, although I did notice that there doesn't appear to be any torpedo bulges on this ship. I don't know if they were sort of internal torpedo bulges to streamline the hull a bit, similar to what the British did with Nelson, or if it just doesn't have any. But as you can see, the sides of the hull are quite flat and smooth. Now, all the secondary armament on the Izumo is focused around the sides and rear of the superstructure, much like on the Nelson, with all of the secondary guns on the rear. This means that when you close to within brawling range, you kind of want to point the side or rear of your ship at the enemy. Pointing the front at them will not allow all of the guns to fire. Although pointing the front at them certainly will allow all of the main guns to fire, which is nice. As I said, the guns on this are pretty decent. They feel quite powerful. Shell velocity's alright. Turret traverse is kind of slow, especially that third turret, because it has to swing all the way back around. And if you're trying to engage targets off either side of your bow, you have to traverse it a full 270 degrees, which takes a while and kind of cancels out one of the possible advantages that a forwards turret positioning gives you in this game, which is that you can more easily engage people while moving towards them. I suspect because of that, Nelson and Rodney, if they both get added, I'm hoping one gets added as a premium, probably Rodney, the Nelson class battleships will be much better at engaging people while moving towards them. And to be honest, I just kind of see the Nelsons being better rounded ships in general. You can actually see the new armor mechanics at work here in this replay. I'm sorry if I sound a bit stuffy, I'm not feeling well, but quite a lot of my shells are bouncing off the enemy ships and their shells are bouncing off me. You can see it happen, especially when I'm in third person and incoming fire comes and just pings straight off. Now, of course, one of the problems with this gun layout is that you can very easily lose all three turrets in one go. It's actually happened to me. In fact, I think I've got that replay saved, so you'll be seeing it at some point, but it does make you very vulnerable to that. And so you've got to be careful to avoid it wherever possible. So far I've been playing pretty aggressively. I'm getting up in people's faces, letting my secondaries do some work, and I'm not about to change that. A lot of people don't like this map because of the split spawns. I actually do quite enjoy it. It makes it interesting and unpredictable, which is not necessarily a bad thing. If it was World of Tanks and the map was unpredictable, I'd probably be a little unhappy, but I don't know. I'm still at the stage where I actually enjoy playing World of Warships instead of trying to flip out about winning as much as possible, probably because it's still in beta and I don't have to worry too much about the speed at which I grind through the trees. The enemy Yamato diverts his attention to the guy to my left. Good news for me, because if he'd actually focused on me, I'd probably die. And my secondaries open up on him. You can see his coming in there as well.
Concentrate fire on the target. Main turret critically damaged.
The Yamato might be an impressive ship, but if you drive it straight into the middle of three enemy battleships, you're not going to last very long. And down he goes. Our Myogi is on fire and about to get point blanked by this Nagato. The sort of mid to high tier Japanese battleships are very, very good brawlers because they have a lot of secondary guns. In fact, you can see them all along the side of this Nagato I'm shooting at. So once they get within close range, they really put the hurt on them. The American battleships don't really get a large number of secondaries until the higher tiers, with the North Carolina, the Iowa, and the Montana. The lower tier US battleships tend to have only a few guns, and the lower tier ones are also very short ranged. Now I thought I was going to burn down here, because my damage control team was out for nearly a minute and I was on fire, with another 30 seconds left on that. But as luck would have it, the fire went out by itself, and it left me with enough hit points to get by. At this point, we have a huge numerical advantage over the enemy. Things have been going pretty well for us so far. And we also more or less control the middle of the map. allowing us to put cap pressure on the other team.
Scout launched.
You can actually see flying from some of the rigging there, the signal flags, which are a reward for various tasks completed in games. If you get a Confederate award or the first strike in a battle or so on, you get rewards in the form of signal flags, and what these do is passively benefit your ship's performance or your credit and experience profit from the match. It depends, each flag does a different thing. Now, it's quite a nice feature, I quite like it. It's kind of similar to what War Thunder's been doing with the little daily rewards slot machine thing. And I quite like it. I think it's a useful thing. It's being tried out for World of Tanks as well. 9.8 test currently has something similar, and I think that might actually go a lot of the way towards helping offset bad pubs when you're trying to grind a tank, because you can just slap a XP income bonus on it, and whether you win or lose, you'll still be making a lot of experience, as I've noticed in this game with it enabled on ships. Same with credits. It can also help you profitably run high tier vehicles that you might not otherwise be able to afford.